I was appalled by how ruthless, by how below the belt, how sadistic the cross-examination was.
These women who are saying that they're victims, you have to see, how do they speak to Keith? You know, what do they say to him? You know, and what do they want? What do they say that they wanted? That's when the jury's gonna start seeing what this case is really about, when we actually get to the evidence.
Earlier you said you started sending Keith naked photographs, correct?
Yes.
And in this particular message, that's you with a naked torso, and under it you write, "Good morning, do you think we can spend time this week?"
That's correct.
And when you asked him, "Do you think we can spend time this week?" you wanted to see Keith, correct?
It looks like that's what I'm saying, yeah.
And you agree with me, you were asking to see Keith on a pretty regular basis.
I was just following the instructions of my master.
All right, so on August 9th you say, "I think you were in my dreams again last night. I sensed you and felt you stronger." That's what you write, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And under it, there's a naked picture of you, and you write, "Good morning, Grandmaster, thank you. This year has been particularly beautiful, challenging, and growthful."
I would say whatever I thought was most pleasing to him.
So when you said that you dreamt about him, you were making that up?
I may have dreamt about him. If I say I did, I'm sure I did.
Have you told my client that you love him?
I tried to be the best slave I could be so that things would work out for me. I'm not saying that was the right way to do things, but that's what I did.
I have nothing else, Judge.
But I feel like what Keith's abuses weren't exposed today. I could see how a jury member sitting there going, well, yeah, you know, that was her decision. You know, she chose to stay and she communicated and she encouraged him. And that's just not the case. Regardless of what their texts back to him are or whatever, they need to understand the system and the indoctrination these women have gone through, which sets Sylvie up for a vulnerable moment like that.
You know, so Keith's attorneys won the one on Sylvia, unfortunately.
Good afternoon, Daniela.
Good afternoon.
You started to write to Keith, correct?
I had been writing to Keith for years, as instructed.
And what you write here is, "From my love for you and what is unfinished between us, I gathered the strength to go against my own momentum and be honest with myself." Your Honor, I have nothing else.
When Agnifilo is reading Daniela's words that she wrote, "From my love for you and what is unfinished between us, I gather the strength to go against my own momentum and can be honest with myself." You know, this is like what Agnifilo is doing to her in court. This is like secondary abuse, you know, which happens in court. And it's really upsetting to me because now the target is being head-fucked again on behalf of the abuser by the lawyers. And it's codified gaslighting. It's legal codified gaslighting. It's legal DARVO.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vicente.
Good afternoon.
I'd like to have you look around the courtroom and let us know if you see Mr. Ranieri here today.
I remember shaking. And I remember saying to myself, I'm not going to look at him. Like, I'm not looking at the defense table. But I had to say the defendant's name, like Keith Ranieri. And then they said, can you point to him? So I pointed at him and I just held it. And the thing that was just fucked up was that the way he looked at me when I pointed at him was sort of this like, I'm here for you, I'm still on your side, I still love you.
When I was watching him on the stand, it was very sad. It felt like death, but not, it's like wanting to reach out and say, don't do this, or please don't lie.
Later on, I had this like sudden thought, it was bizarre. It's like just floated through, and it was like this thought of like, what if he's right? What if he actually is a good guy?
Okay, you wear the headphones and I'll hear how it sounds.
And I was like, what the fuck is that thought doing there? I was so horrified. Not so much that the thought had taken root, but that I had the thought. See, Raniere had little post-it notes and a pencil, and he had his 5 lawyers, and they were constantly whispering with each other. And so what he would do, because he had so much knowledge about my psyche, is he would write down little notes and pass it to them. They would ask me questions, and of course, it would fuck me up. And one of the questions that was so interesting, I don't know if this was on purpose, but at one point, Agnifilo asks me what I mean. What do you mean when you say, what do you mean? What do you mean? And I just go blank. I can't process the question because the what do you mean question was an EM question, and I had been asked that question thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times, and my whole brain went blank. And eventually he was like not understanding, and I said, I can't process that question. And I couldn't. And there were things like that they dug into my psyche. It's almost like, like the Manchurian Candidate. There's things waiting there that Raniere knew about. I'm not saying he knew about that. I think there's other things he knew about. That he knew if those questions were asked, it would trigger certain things. And that's what's so fucked up about this particular situation. When you have somebody who's studied your psyche, who's gathered information on you for 12 years, because you've divulged all kinds of shit, while you're inside the system. And now he's sitting there with the defense team, giving them all the ammunition that's going to fuck you up. And I only had a few hours on the stand. But in those few hours, Agnifilo came out strong, and he was just relentlessly attacking me. And I had been very well trained at that point, but up to a point, you never know until you're there. And he was so fucking confident. And I had been warned that what a good attorney will do, what a good defense attorney will do, is have you believe that you're the guilty one and their client is innocent. And there was a moment I was like, what the fuck is going on? So when I got off the stand, I felt something sort of lodged in me, some insecurity lodged in me. And I had the next day off, and I was walking in Brooklyn, having this feeling, and I said to Bonnie, like, I feel really shaken. I feel like he's got me to question everything. And she said, yeah, that's what I told you he would do. It was all the head fucking from Agnifilo. And it messed with my head so badly. I had to do a lot of personal work and introspection over that weekend to sort of reorient myself and realize this is exactly what she warned me against, is his confidence was extraordinary. I got right, I got straight in my head, but it was fucking scary for a moment, because he literally had me thinking, maybe I am the cause of everything bad that happened here. It was a fucking frightening moment.